Sky Guasco is back from the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football Podcast on the Believe Podcast Network, answering your fantasy football questions for week number 7 as we start tonight. Broncos 3 straight losses. They start 3-0, a disappointing Cleveland team. That's your action tonight. So make sure. A lot of bye weeks there, Sky. So I guess a lot of bye weeks means we got a lot of new players. You'll be giving us some sleepers and waiver wire guys, but this is like the biggest bye week so far this year. So remember to get those bye week guys out of your lineups. We got a lot of injuries too. So let's get into it here. Let's start with the guy who got traded, Zack Ertz. He's going to Arizona. So leaves Philly, 31 targets. He was splitting time with Dallas Goedert. He's now in Arizona. What kind of fantasy impact?
I think it's a great fit. First of all, you just had another weapon to Kyler Murray. Rondale Moore really, I think, is the only competition here, but they didn't bring Zack Ertz in not to use him. Max Williams was effective. He got hurt. Dan Arnold left. And so I'm liking the Zack Ertz play here, another weapon in the red zone, and he's a streamer here. He wasn't even on most rosters because of Dallas Goedert in the season, so he might still be available on your waiver wire or cheap in trade. I would go pick him up and use him.
All right, the Cleveland game tonight. Let's get into their running back situation because obviously Chubb and Hunt look like both will be out tonight. So now what?
Chubb and Hunt and Baker Mayfield out in this game. Case Keenum's going to be slinging it here. Odell Beckham's beat up. Jarvis Landry should be active and coming back, but Dearness Johnson for me is the one that you want. If you didn't pick him up on waivers, he's probably the number 1 waiver claim in your league, so it might be tough at this point. Demetric Felton is another option as well. I think it's going to be Dearness Johnson filling the Nick Chubb early downs role and then Demetric Felton filling in the pass-catching role there. So if you're in a PPR league, you might get away with Felton. Otherwise, I would go Dearness Johnson.
All right, a couple more before we take the listener questions here. What about the Baltimore running back situation? How are we playing that? I would imagine some of these guys, are waiver wire on the bye week.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about this because just 3-4 years ago, you're talking about these kind of names, Devonta Freeman, Le'Veon Bell, Latavius Murray. I mean, these guys are almost fantasy legends for their time.
Le'Veon Bell was the first pick.
But now waiver wire pickups. First time in NFL history, Mike, last week that 3 running backs on the same team had rushed for 1,000 yards in their career and all scored a touchdown on the same day with Murray, Bell, and Freeman. Freeman's the one that I want. Latavius Murray has been effective, but he tweaked his ankle last week. He could be out. He's still not practicing so far this week. He could be out. If he's out, I want Devonta Freeman over Le'Veon Bell, which I know is crazy for fantasy people to hear. But I think Devonta Freeman's going to get more work, a little bit more boost. Honestly, though, with all these bye weeks, you may not have a choice. You might have to start both of them, but I lean Freeman.
Sadly, I had to put in for Freeman last night. I don't know if I got him yet. I have Hunt. I've got the Minnesota backs. My guys are all on buys this week. Let's see. What else we got here? All right, let's get into some listener questions. Bomber11 is listening in Galloway. He says, PPR, which running back should I trade out of James Robinson? He's been a disappointment this year. Saquon Barkley, Mixon, or Jonathan Taylor? And if you have anyone I should target. So one of those guys he wants to trade.
All right, so keep Jonathan Taylor for sure. James Robinson's on a bye, so that might be tough to move. Earlier on my podcast, the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football Podcast, I mentioned that Joe Mixon was a trade-away candidate for me. And essentially it has to do with the schedule coming up. The Bengals are utilizing him, but his efficiency isn't where you want it to be. You're relying on touchdowns. So Joe Mixon would have the name value. He's healthy, and I think you get the most from him. I would say Saquon, but nobody wants a piece of Saquon right now, unfortunately, and James Robinson's on bye. So Joe Mixon's the one to move. And then I would look for somebody on a bye if you don't need him. Najee Harris, maybe you move up to pair up Zeke Elliott. If you have maybe Dalvin Cook, you can go get Alexander Madison for cheap and get another piece or so. But those are some players I'm looking at.
That's good advice, to find a back that's on a bye this week and maybe target that guy while he's on a bye for somebody else's team. All right, Sky, quarterback issue, Wentz, Darnold, or Matt Ryan?
Matt Ryan. And actually, spoiler alert, I usually get to my sleepers and plays of the week at the end of this episode, but I'll jump right to it. Now it was brought up. Matt Ryan is actually my guy this week here going up against Miami. Fresh off a bye, healthy, going to get Calvin Ridley back, who missed the London game before they went on bye to personal reasons. He's back. Pitts finally is breaking out of his shell. Cordero Patterson's been uncoverable. I like Matt Ryan a lot this week, so he's going to be the one I'm going to roll with.
All right, so 609-403 0973. Keep them coming. Your fantasy football questions again for week number 7. Let's go and get some more here. All right, we got this week. Man, I'm sorry, I'm on remote here, so I'm trying to get my stuff to load to get these questions in here for you. We got so many bye week questions too, so it's not a good week to have lousy internet service out here. But all right, I got it coming up here. By the way, Sky Guasco, don't forget Sunday morning at 10 a.m. for the live start sit show on YouTube. You can ask other questions if we don't get to yours as well. All right, here we go. How about Mooney this week? You got Mooney or Locket in a PPR?
I'm going to go Mooney here, and I know it's not a popular opinion, but last week I believe I faded Tyler Lockett also, and that worked out. I'm going to fade him once again here. I mean, Geno Smith can move the ball enough, but DK Metcalf is his guy. And the Saints defense, right, Marshawn Lattimore and the rest of that pass rush on Monday Night Football, I'm worried about Tyler Lockett. I don't think he gets that big play that he had with Russell Wilson. I'll fade that. Darnell Mooney and the Bears have been struggling, but against Tampa Bay, they've actually been ruthless against the run, so they're susceptible against the pass. I think Justin Fields is going to be forced to throw it here. Mooney is the number one. It's not Allen Robinson. I'm going to stick with Mooney here.
All right, another one with Tyler Lockett. How about Devonta Smith or Tyler Lockett?
I'm going to go Devonta Smith against the Raiders. Very tough against outside wide receivers, but if he's playing in the slot more often, I think Jalen Hurts will be able to move the ball here. And I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball much. I mean, they tried with Miles Sanders last week against Tampa. He played better than I thought he would, but I'm going to stick with Devonta Smith. It's the target share, the upside, the touchdown upside as well. And again, I'm going to take Devonta Smith over Tyler Lockett this week.
All right, let's go. PPR Standard League, currently 2-4 in the 10-man league and need to win, Sky, the next couple of weeks. Need your help. All right, here we go. Would you trade Ridley and Ertz for Stafford, A.J. Brown, and Devonta Smith?
Yes. If you need a quarterback and you're in a single quarterback league, then yes, I would do that.
Looks like he's got Burrow and Wilson on the IR. He did send his current roster, by the way.
Bummer. Yeah. So then you need a quarterback and you need to get some wins. So yes, I would do it. I'm really bullish on Calvin Ridley. I think he's going to explode in the second half of the season, but he hasn't yet. And if you can sell high on Zack Ertz, I would do that. A.J. Brown broke out in the second half last week. I like that a lot, so I'm going to go with the Stafford and Brown side.
All right, here's a question for you, I guess, after last week. Wants to know, is T.Y. Hilton a must-start when he's healthy, or if he's healthy?
Yeah, the big question there, Mike, is if he's healthy. I mean, he's basically my wide receiver 50. I mean, he's out of my wide receiver fours here with Nelson Aguilar and Bryan Edwards, Pascal. So not against San Francisco. San Francisco's coming off healthy off of a bye week. Sunday Night Football. You're banking on a big play from T.Y. Hilton. He caught that big play and then got injured again. No, he is not a must-start. I know many players on bye this week. You may be stuck, and if you are, then play him and hope for the best. But if you can avoid that, I would not play T.Y. Hilton this week.
All right, my question for you, Sky, is should I start Teddy Bridgewater or Case Keenum? I have Justin Herbert, and he is on a bye. Are there your only two options? Jeez.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. If you're in a single quarterback league and you went with Herbs early, then you're streaming otherwise. You know, I'm going to go with Case Keenum here, actually. He's not just a backup quarterback. I think folks don't realize this. There's a lot of backup quarterbacks in the NFL who are just that. They only play if a guy gets injured. Case Keenum has been a starter, a playoff starter, a successful quarterback in the NFL for quite a while.
And he knows the play caller.
Exactly. I like him pushing the ball downfield. Jarvis Landry back in. Donovan Peoples-Jones has very quietly shown up in the tight ends there as well. And I think that even though the Broncos secondary is very strong, the Browns are going to have to chuck it to stay in this one. I'm going to go in the same game tonight. I'm going to go with Case Keenum.
All right, two quick ones before we get to your picks here. Devonta Freeman or Felton, full PPR?
Yeah, it's tough. I guess I would go Felton. The Broncos are limited or without 4 linebackers in this game due to health and COVID and things like that. So I'm going to go with Felton here in this one. They're both hit or miss. You're hoping for both of them to score. I don't know if Latavius Murray's going to play, and if he does, then Freeman won't do much probably. So I'm going to go with Felton tonight. Just cross your fingers on that one. You're hoping for 3-4 grabs, 40, 50 yards, and a score.
Mac Jones or Tua?
Oh, I like that one. I'm actually going to go I think I would go – let's see. They're back-to-back in my rankings here. I'm trying to do Nuts. I'm going to go with Tua against Atlanta. Atlanta's healthy, but Tua played very well last week, just got the upset against Jacksonville in London. I'm going to go Tua there.
All right, before we roll here, Sky Guasco, the Start Sit Show is on YouTube Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock till 1 o'clock. They'll answer questions live right there in real time for you and tell us who some plays are this week, waiver wires, guys that need to be in your lineup. You got the floor.
My man. Yeah, so fantasy-focused YouTube channel. You can find us, hit subscribe there, and you can find us for 3 hours, start, sit there with all your questions. I already mentioned Matt Ryan, but I'm going to stick with it. Matt Ryan versus the Miami Dolphins, Atlanta coming off of a bye, getting right. He has not been good without Julio Jones in his career, but they have to move on here. Kyle Pitts should be the guy, and Ridley as well. So Matt Ryan is my guy at quarterback. Running back, Damian Harris versus the Jets. The Jets are, unfortunately for your listeners, horrendous against the run. That is good for Damian Harris, over 100 yards once again last week, has the touchdown upside. Ramondre Stevenson will probably have a little bit of work, but I like Damian Harris this week. Brandon Cooks is my wide receiver here against the Cardinals. They're going to have to chuck it, and Brandon Cooks has been very effective and a wide receiver 2 all season, other than when he played Bill Belichick, who takes away the number 1 option. Brandon Cooks should be that guy against Arizona. Good 8-9 targets, 90 yards, and touchdown upside. We talked about Dallas Goedert, but I like him against the Raiders. The Raiders have given up the most tight end fantasy points over the last month. They're tough against outside wide receivers, as I mentioned, but I like Devonta Smith in the middle, and I like Dallas Goedert over the middle as well for touchdown upside. 2 defenses, if you can still get them. Denver tonight, Browns, who are completely destroyed on offense, and also Arizona Cardinals going up against Houston are my number 1 defense this week.
All right, don't forget the Start Sit 'em Show Fantasy Focus is on Sunday mornings at 10. The Candlestick Kids podcast is on the Believe Podcast Network. He's Sky Guasco. The guys do a great job answering fantasy football questions. Sorry we didn't get to more. We'll do it again next week right here on the Sports Bash. Sky, have a great weekend, man.
Good luck, everybody. Thanks, Mike.
All right, the football fix, the fantasy football fix on the Sports Bash is brought to you by the Piccadilly Inn, Route 206 in Chemung. Your best pick for South Jersey's best wings is the Piccadilly. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.